Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We are doing our 6-month mashup with the CFS V2 versus the Beijing Climate Center seasonal model. So we're going to go 6 months ahead with the CFS, and then we'll do it all over again. We'll go 6 months ahead with the Beijing Climate Center, and we're going to see what both of these long-range models are showing for the next 6 months. We're going to have a bit of a laugh and see what they're predicting from next month, from May right way through to October 2020. So sit back, relax, and enjoy on your Saturday evening. Just to say that the first video released today was weekend forecast, so as always on Saturday, your weekend look ahead, that's the first video up. And of course, we also had the week to 10-day video update with all regular features as well. So 3 videos in, and it's going to be the last video of the day, of course. But lots coming up tomorrow. I'll talk you through all about at the end of the video. Right, let's get on with it then, and we're going to start off with CFS V2. These are 700 millibar height anomalies for the next 6 months. Now, if everything's working correctly with these models, then of course May next month should be the most reliable part of the whole thing. It's no guarantee that they will be getting the patterns right for May, but that's the nearest month, so that should be the most reliable part. And then, of course, the further out we go, months 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the more unreliable it gets, until eventually we get to around month 3, 4, and it really is in the realm of being just for fun. Right, so this is CFS V2 700 millibar height anomaly for May 2020. Looks quite anti-cyclonic, going for an area of above average heights to be sitting over just to the east of the country, below average heights throughout to the Atlantic. Just seems going northwards, a little bit like that. And we're bringing in more of a sort of southerly to southeasterly flow. So you're going to expect quite a bit of dry weather in with that, really. And, yes, temperature should be relatively mild, maybe even quite warmish, to be honest. Winds are coming in from an east to southeast direction. Not too bad to start us off. The high pressure signal strengthens into June. This is month number 2, so again, it's relatively close. It's not overly unreliable, hopefully. And going for quite a large area of above average heights up to our east-northeast. Winds are coming in from sort of an easterly direction. High pressure probably keeps it mostly dry, I would have thought, or reasonably dry anyway. And with winds from the east in June, that should hopefully be a relatively warm wind direction. So not a bad start to the summer there with CFS V2 for June. However, look what happens as we get through to July. Things go rather wrong. We lose our area of high pressure over Scandinavia, goes further northwards and becomes like northern blocking, and we have a trough of low pressure, a trough of below average height sitting over just to the west of the country. The Azores high looks relatively weakened and a little bit southerly displaced, and overall it just looks rather unsettled for July. It's not a particularly good signal. It's 3 months out, month number 3, so you know, can't take it all that seriously. It is starting to get towards the realm of being just for fun. But it is an unsettled signal for July. There's no getting away from that. A cooler and more unsettled month after that warm, dry June. August, again, all looks rather flimsy as well. So there's no particular area of high pressure for August. We have some above average heights sitting over towards Newfoundland over there, and a long way away from us up to the northeast. Otherwise, there's lots of white going on, which is really, at this stage, as we are at month number 4, it's really no signal. But I think overall we're probably bringing in a westerly, so at the very least I would suspect rather changeable. Let's put it like that. There's no particular area of high pressure to suggest dry or fine conditions there. That's September. We're up month number 5 now, so we're at the realm of just for fun, of course. But for September, the CFS this month is going for northern blocking. High pressure to be setting up in the northern latitudes, which is quite unusual for September. And low pressure, therefore, you would expect to be underneath that block through here. So I would have thought that's a relatively cool and unsettled signal for September, an autumnal start to the autumn. And then finally we've got October, month number 6, so again it's not worth worrying about at all. Have above average heights to our west, sitting in the Atlantic, below average heights developing up towards Greenland. Jet streams probably doing something a bit like that, so it could be a little bit on the cool and changeable side, but as we're 6 months out it doesn't really matter. Right, temperature anomalies then. So coming back to May, temperature anomaly for May is above average for most parts of Europe, which of course you would expect, given that model is forecasting high pressure to be sitting in this sort of area. You would expect quite a lot of dry weather and warm weather too, with winds coming in from east, southeasterly direction. So a warm month for May for much of northern, western and central Europe. And June gets even warmer, actually. Quite a hot month being suggested there for June, particularly up across Scandinavia and also in these west parts of Europe, Germany, Low Countries, France. Not as warm as that for the UK, but nevertheless still on the above average side. Looks like it's a very warm couple of months, really, in May and for June for most parts of Europe, with high pressure in control. But then things cool down quite a lot as we get through to July. It's not going for a particularly colder than average month, but clearly you can see the way the temperature anomalies change from June to July. There's obviously quite a decrease in the temperature going on from June to July. Still warmer than average across many northern and particularly central and eastern parts of Europe. Out in this western area, for UK, Ireland, France, Spain, Portugal, we are there near normal or have no signal. But it's still a reasonably mild month. It's a warmish sort of month, but nowhere near as warm, nowhere near as hot as it is in June. And things cool down further seemingly into August. So you can see the transition there, the transition from the very warm month that we have across much of Europe in June, something rather cooler in July, something even cooler still into August. Again, lots of white going on, lots of no signal, but the way those warmer than average temperature anomalies just fading away and being pushed towards the east or the southeast of Europe does imply that there is quite a cool down going on month by month in terms of the anomaly to average. So at this point, UK, Ireland, again, we're no better than average and probably have no signal, but a cool down taking place as the summer progresses. September looks like that, so by the time you get through to September, most parts of Europe are actually no better than near normal. It's still warmer than average in the northern latitudes. That's because we've got northern blocking, so it's warmer than average up here, warmer than average over towards Iceland and also towards Greenland. There's Svalbard, of course, so that's all indicative of the high pressure that's sitting within the northern latitudes, of course. But for most parts of Europe, actually, the temperature anomaly is no better than average in September. And October rounds all off, and that one also loses the warmer than average temperature anomaly. So once we get May and June out of the way, looks like the second half of the year, well, certainly July, August, September, October, are cooling down to some degree. Again, not a particularly cold thing. There's no particular signal to be colder than average in any of those months. But we definitely lose the clear trend to be above average that we have in the first 2 months in May and particularly into June. And then finally, we've got precipitation anomalies, or finally for CFS V2, because we're going to do it all over again, Beijing climate centre in a moment. But for precipitation with the CFS for May, it's a drier than average month being suggested for much of northern Europe. Again, that's because high pressure is dominating, so we've got lots of high pressure around here. Then obviously you're going to have quite a dry month across northern Europe. Southern Europe does look wetter. So a warm, dry month for May with the CFS. And June carries that on as well. So again, we see significantly drier than average anomalies from many parts of northern Europe, with lots of high pressure dominating the scene. Excuse me, dominating the scene in June. So both May and June signal to be warm and dry across northern Europe, particularly warm in June. Always wetter through the Mediterranean. And then that's July, though. Look, it completely flips as we go through to July. Month number 3 takes the drier than average anomalies down towards the southeastern part of Europe, so around the Black Sea to the Balkans. But many northern western parts of Europe are going more unsettled there in July, indicative of low pressure developing in the Atlantic. So July is clearly a cooler and more unsettled month, quite significantly so compared to what we have in June. August also looking a bit unsettled as well, really. There's no particularly drier than average area in August, so it all just looks rather mixed, rather changeable. Probably not a deluge of a month, but certainly does look a little bit on the mixed side. September also looking a little bit changeable, I have to say. So it's drier than average up here. Again, that's where we've got all of the high pressure, and up here too. And for many parts of Europe, though, so it's a bit wetter now, reach around Germany, for example, in towards France, some parts of UK, very slightly wetter. But now it just all looks a little bit changeable. Once we get past June, I think really it looks like it's quite changeable. The best of the summer per warm, dry conditions is May, June. And then after that, it just looks generally a bit on the mixed side. A little bit cool, a little bit unsettled, and a little bit changeable too. And then finally get through to October, month number 6, so it's not worth being concerned about, but October maybe hints at something just a little bit drier appearing, close to Ireland anyway, as we start to build up some higher pressure through the North Atlantic, so some higher pressure there, lower pressure perhaps down here. But that's 6 months away, so really it's a case of, who cares? Right, so I'm going to pause the video there, and we'll be back in a moment and have a look at Beijing Climate Centre. We'll see how the two models compare. So the mashup will continue in a moment with the Beijing Climate Centre, and I'll see you very, very soon. Okay, we're back, and we're ready to resume our mashup. So we've got rid of the CFS B2, that's gone, and we've got Beijing Climate Centre for you. So CFS is in the bin, and now we're on to the Beijing Climate Centre. So the first part of the video with the CFS, overall not too bad for May and June, lots of dry and warm weather. For May and June, with high pressure dominating, particularly so in June. June looks like it could be quite a hot month, actually, very warm month. But then once that gets out of the way, it looks like we're going to something quite a bit more unsettled and cooler for July, August, and beyond. So CFS is very much going to front load, what we call a front loaded summer. This month, which is that the warmest dry conditions in the front part of the summer in June, but when it goes, then we go into something rather cooler and more unsettled through the rest of the summer. Let's see how the Beijing Climate Centre compares then, and we're going to have a look at the 500 millibar height anomalies. First of all, with the Beijing Climate Centre, again, these are broken down into monthly periods. It's the same idea as CFS. The earlier the month, the more reliable it should be, and then the further out we go, the more unreliable it gets. So this is the 500 millibar height anomaly from Beijing Climate Centre for May, just a couple of weeks away from the beginning of May, and anticyclonic signals again above average heights, which is high pressure sitting over the country and to our east. Very much in line with what the CFS is showing, actually. So both of these models are in agreement for May to be an anticyclonic, relatively dry, and you would have thought quite warm month. Changes though as we get through to June. So in June, I mean it's not a particularly bad anomaly, but the above average heights are more towards our south, and if we come over here towards our southeast, lower pressure is developing up towards Scandinavia and to the north of the British Isles, probably weaker pressure through here as well, and then some higher pressure again around there. Jetson's probably doing something like that, and I would have thought June could actually be a rather more unsettled and slightly cooler month. Rather more unsettled and slightly cooler in June, particularly compared to what the CFS was showing. It's not a disaster of a pattern though. There would still be quite a bit of warm and dry weather, and that would be particularly so for more southern parts of the country. But then the high pressure comes back in July. So this is very different to what the CFS is showing, because in July we start to set up this large ridge from the Atlantic into the UK and then going over into many central parts of Europe. Low pressure is pushed up here. This is sort of indicative of a pattern of the past couple of summers. If this came off, I think it could well produce a hot month in July. I think the Beijing Climate Centre is hinting at a hot month in July. Again, that will be the third sort of hot July on the bounce, really, 2018, 2019, and then 2020. It's a very similar pattern to what we've had over the past couple of years in July. Interesting that the Beijing Climate Centre is doing that when the CFS is suggesting a much more unsettled month. Now, this is August, and again, it's relatively anti-cyclonic. Beijing Climate Centre definitely going for a better summer here if you like warm, dry weather compared to the CFS. There's a trough of low pressure developing through here in the 500 millibar flow, but for us, we remain quite close to high pressure. So there's some higher pressure just there and over central parts of Europe as well. That should again be bringing up quite hot air from the south to southwest. So July and August are potentially warm or very warm. Now bear in mind this is a long way out. So this is month number 4. Very unreliable. But a big contrast there to what the CFS is showing. September also relatively anticyclonic with the above average heights again over and just to the west of the country. Low pressure is up here still. Jet streams push northwards. That's another relatively warm and dry month, I would have thought, in September from the Beijing Climate Centre. And October rounds it all off. Again, anticyclonic signals. This time the high pressure is sort of out to our west. So it wouldn't be as warm. We'd be bringing cooler air around the top of the high from a north to northeasterly direction. But having said that, again, it's a high pressure signal. There will be a lot of dry and fine weather on offer. So the Beijing Climate Centre is really going to town with high pressure for the next 6 months. Perhaps it's overreacting to the end of the wet winter, and we have gone into a more anticyclonic period into this spring, and maybe the Beijing Climate Centre is overreacting to that. Or maybe the Beijing Climate Centre is right and the CFS has got this wrong. But they are very much at odds, particularly for the summer. I mean, they both start off relatively dry and warm, but they soon depart. And by the time we get through to July in particular, we've got the CFS going cool and unsettled, and the Beijing Climate Centre going potentially quite hot. Let's have a look at the temperature anomalies. So month number 1, May, comes out with above average temperature anomalies with Beijing Climate Centre, not just for the UK, but through most parts of Europe as well. On the scale, in those orange colours, so it's a pretty warm month. I mean, we're talking about 1 to 1.5 degrees above average. If you're in the red colours, then you're going to be like a couple of degrees above average. June's not quite as warm, so funnily enough, actually, come out of the two, Beijing Climate Centre is a little bit cooler, a little bit more unsettled for June compared to, like, the CFS, which is quite interesting. So just a little bit above average for June. Then we go through to July, and it gets warmer again. Look how hot a month is being forecast here through most parts of Europe in those red colours in July. Again, on the temperature scale, that's like 1.5, 2 degrees above average. For us, we're back in those orange colours, around 1.5 degrees above average. That's a very warm month again. Will be the third very warm to hot July in succession. August also looks warm or very warm. Look at that. Most parts of Europe again in those red colours. UK is in the orange colours. So that's another very warm to potentially quite hot month being forecast for August. September is warmer than average as well. This is quite remarkable for the Beijing Climate Centre, going for significantly warmer than average temperature anomalies in September. Not quite as warm as the months before, but nevertheless still above average. By the time we get through to October, we're 6 months out now, of course, so it's just for fun. By October, the temperature anomaly is returning to be much closer to average, and actually through parts of Western Europe, we go a little bit cooler than average in October. So by October, things are cooling down, but before then, a lot of warm and potentially even hot weather, particularly in July and maybe August. Finally, precipitation anomalies from the Beijing Climate Centre. So May is forecast to be a drier than average month, quite significantly so. That's because high pressure is dominating. So both the models are in agreement for May. Both these models are in agreement for May to be a warm and a dry month. Then they depart big time. August is June I should say, is suggested to be perhaps a little bit on the drier side, to be honest. It's not a particularly unsettled month, but it's a bit more unsettled, go overheating and upheating. So it's a little bit more unsettled really for Northern Europe compared to what the CFS was showing in June. But then July turns that around. So in July, we've got the CFS going for a very unsettled month. But the Beijing Climate Centre actually goes for a very dry July across the UK and also across most parts of Europe. That could be a very hot month in July, I have to say. If the Beijing Climate Centre was to come off, that would be potentially a really hot month across many parts of Europe. So watch out. If you don't like the heat, then you'll be rooting for the CFS here. If you do like the heat, then you'll be rooting for the Beijing Climate Centre. August looks like it goes a little bit more unsettled, actually, maybe a bit surprisingly. So precipitation just going to edge up a little bit, particularly to northern, western parts of the country in August. Central Europe, still dry and average, but not as dry. So this does suggest, but once again, yet again, July is the hottest and driest month of the summer, and then maybe it starts out a little bit more mixed in August. 4 months out though, so we're in the unreliable time frame. September also seemed to be rather on the drier than average side, and October also looks rather dry as well. So there's a lot of dry weather to come if the Beijing Climate Centre is right. It wants to have most of these next 6 months dry, and also very warm too. And as I keep saying, there is a suggestion there for what looks like a properly hot July. Another hot July, that would be the third one in succession if it came off. We can't discount the CFS V2 though. The CFS is very, very different. They are both in agreement for month number 1 for May to be dry and warm, but that is as far as the agreement goes. And July then has an even warmer, CFS then has an even warmer and drier month in June before it all sort of falls apart for July and August, when we know that the Beijing Climate Centre is completely at odds with that. By the time we get through to September and October, they're too far away to have any sort of concern with them, really. So it's the summer that we've got to focus on here, and there's a very big split between these two models in the way they're forecasting this summer to pan out. So rather exciting stuff, because the two models are both at very extreme ends, I think, for this summer. CFS very front-loaded, but then it all falls apart. Beijing Climate Centre potentially going for another classic hot and dry July. We shall see, and of course, it's just a snapshot of what these models are showing. They could look very different when we do next month's mashup. And of course, next month's mashup will cover not only the whole of the summer, it'll also cover the whole of the autumn as well. Right then, so that's it for your videos for today. Don't forget to drop a like on the video. Let us know that you enjoyed it. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know in the comments what you think. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, of course. Now, tomorrow, we've got a very busy day coming up. So, video number 1 will be summer analogues. We're going to be looking at solar minimum summers for tomorrow's first video. Gauss Web is Study Roundup will be coming up tomorrow as well. And also the ECMWF and Metro France and DWD long-range update with you tomorrow. So, this weekend really is a long-range weather fans dream weekend, really. Loads and loads of stuff at the long range. And also, of course, going to have a live stream on YouTube tomorrow evening between 5 and 6 o'clock. We'll get together. We're going to check in, see how we're all doing while we remain in lockdown, and make sure everyone is okay within the Gauss Weatherviz community. And that's going to be between 5 and 6 o'clock tomorrow. I'm sure some of these long-range model updates are going to come up in that live stream. So if you've got any questions about what these long-range models are showing, then save them for the live stream, and I'll do my best to answer any questions or queries that you might have. Right then, well, that's it for now, and all remains safe. That's all out, and thanks for watching.